Welcome to the While My Batteries Charge podcast. Join us as we talk about all things radio controls. And now, your host,
folks, this man, he is the king.
Mr. CCxRC himself, Tony CC.
Oh, man, you guys, we got a lot to talk about today. Hopefully, I can find the time to keep it rolling. But yeah, it's been busy around here. Just got back from Horizon RC Fest. Lots to talk about that. Getting ready for Axialfest Badlands. The new Axial SCX 10.3 Base Camp Builders Kit just got announced, and I have one in my possession. We can talk about that. So let's just jump right in because there's just a lot to talk about. Horizon RC Fest, absolutely amazing event. Big thanks to Horizon for hosting us and everybody that showed up. So many people, so many people, so many RC cars, RC planes, every kind of RC you could imagine was there. And it was phenomenal. From day one, Friday morning at 10 when it started until 10 p.m. Saturday night, it was just an awesome time. Totally exhausting, but that means you're having a good time the whole time, and they just kept things moving and rolling. Almost too much to do in some ways. Couldn't get it all in, and that's a pretty good thing, I think. So let's talk about what we did do, and that is we brought down my buddy Rick brought down his trailer that he's got, the 124mop.com trailer. It's the 124 scale mobile off-road park trailer. It's got clay, rock, a little bit of sticks in spots, and some cement to hold things together in a few spots. And it is a portable comp trailer, and we ran 2 comps, and both were a lot of fun. Different than we normally run, thankfully, because we did some after hours comps too while we were just there hanging out with our buddies and whatever after the comp was done, and people were doing other things. The night was over basically, and we were camping out, and so we stayed late. We stayed all night actually, so we stayed real late, but we were up real late doing just fun comping with each other. And I think my run was probably, it's hard, I want to say 20 minutes. It's probably more like 10 to 15 that felt like 20. It was a long run. And so all of us took our time, and we were there for hours just for the handful of us that were there. So that's why we do these rules, because otherwise we set up really complex courses and have a blast taking our time getting through them. But we did it timed, so you were shooting to be the fastest person through the track, and we set it up so that it would take approximately under 2 minutes to get through it. And the fastest time, and we did 2 different courses actually. We added gates on each side for the modified class that were more difficult, and it was easier to do it at the start and end. And then the middle gates were a different color, and so we'd start the stock ones into the course more. They'd run through the gates and be done at the end of all the orange ones, but there were purple ones that were extras. So the fastest time I think was a minute 20 minute 23. Those were the 2 fastest times with penalties. So they were flying through, and I think they might have only gotten 1 penalty. So very quick. If you wanted to win, you had to be on it. And so I had a 143, which was the fastest. I didn't compete, but I ran it because Weston Anderson, everything that we were doing that weekend was the competition between us. And so he wanted to know what score I'd get because he did comp. He ended up winning. I think he had a 149. Anyway, that's like 6 seconds faster than him. And but he was the fastest time. And actually he had tied with Rick, who is also wasn't taking a score because it's his trailer. So Weston was right up there with us guys that do this on the regular. We comp these. We don't normally do time, and it really threw some of us for a loop, especially the ability to use reverses and not be penalized for it. You don't think that way coming to gates that you can just reverse and set yourself up for it. So breaking that mindset, we've taught ourselves that reverses are penalties. It's very tricky to do. So it's probably easier for people that don't normally comp to just kind of go through it. In fact, the guy that won with the fastest stock SCX24 time was with a loaner truck. So we had loaner trucks this weekend. There were no tri-me's for it. They did have like a little tri-me set up in the sales tent where they had a couple of AX24s people could try on a foam course. That was pretty decent, and it was pretty cool. But there weren't any technical tri-me's for the SCX24. There were for the other, they had base camps that were tri-me's for the larger SCX 10 scale size, and they had a little course set up for that. And then there were tri-me planes, and there were tri-me bashers and some things over there. And so people would see us running them, and they'd see ours sitting on the table and think that they were tri-me's. But we knew kind of going in that we wanted people to be able to run it, and so we brought extras. So I brought a bunch of my stockish ones, like our class 1, because anything that breaks on them is so simplistic to fix, in my opinion. And I have many multiples of all the parts, my own little store technically, so I could fix anything that broke. So we just let people run them, and, some drove them off the table. Some, it was crazy, the difference in skill from one to the other. You could tell kids that have run RCs versus some that were just there checking it out. And, either way, it was cool. I didn't care. I knew when I handed over that controller that anything could happen, and I was willing to, because I want them to have the experience of running them and checking it out. And so many went and actually bought SCX24s from the tent, and it would come back. And they did have them on sale too, which was awesome. You get the Jeep for I think it was $100. Deadbolts I think were $105, something there were great deals on them. So people were buying them and running them, and we were having a blast with the comp. I think there was 45 trucks that entered the first day, and I think about 43 the second. We thought that it was going to be a lot bigger on the second day, I'll be honest, because Friday was a little bit slower. The difference is it was slower on Friday. It was so busy, and there were so many competing events at the same time. They had the mud trucks going. They had the sumo table going. Monster truck racing was going, plane stuff the whole time. So there was varying other even competitions that people had brought their stuff for that they wanted to compete in. I think that there wasn't going against us on Friday night. We also didn't have a microphone or any way to really kind of let people know something was going on. So that's all something. I've got a speaker system. We can remedy that in the future. Because we did have a generator, so we could definitely fix that little problem if we do it again next year, if we get invited back. But we had an absolute blast regardless. So we got a lot of people in trying it out. So many were blown away by even the fact of what these could do, and seeing some of our more modified ones, how well they run. And it's not you get an experience of it out of the box. And it's fun and it's cool, and I really like them. But, man, when you start upgrading them, you really can see the potential of how different it is and how much closer it feels. It's still not 1/10 scale in capability, whatever. And some would say, I know some people say, well, it's actually more capable by scale. I don't want to have those arguments because I don't really care about those arguments. I just know the fun factor of it, and my favorite part of it is when you have a tabletop height like that, there's just something different about being able to run the car at that height that I just really like. Even my 10th scale, when we run it at the park in Virginia, there were levels where it was at your waist, and I just like that when we were standing kind of in the trench and it was on that upper area. I just like the visual look of the truck from there instead of looking top down on it without having to crouch down and look. So that I think is what I like so much about having the trailer there versus even running them on. They had a ground course too that people could run on and play on. So like when we were doing the comp, it was closed off, but there was another section that they had built up that people could run them. But overall, super awesome. I think, Dana came down with us. Travis came down. Dave and Cody came down. So we had a bunch of Michigan crawler representation for the 24 scale that came down with us that all crawled together. And so we were all just having a blast hanging out. I was running around with my head chopped off, I'll be honest, because normally down there, my main thing that I'd go down for was the monster trucks and racing the monster trucks. And I did feel a bit detached from it this year because of the other comp. In fact, I wasn't set up. I didn't have my tent in the monster trucks like I normally do. And so it was a different experience this year. And so it was kind of a bummer not getting to hang with them as much as I usually do. But I did get to compete, and we did the LMT spec class. I got through a couple rounds in that the first day. The second day, I didn't. I did terrible. So they had 2 days of racing monster trucks. They had spec class. They had 2.2 class. They had an open class. The spec class was for LMT low-C, like stockish trucks. And then they had the pro mod, which is you can't have like the stock LMT tires, and you can't have the longer wheelbase of the new like King Slings and that, or if you have the long wheelbase, the TLR tuned one, that stuff's not quite allowed in there. So they have an open class that allowed for those to run in, which also allowed for my kind of modified LMT, but still had like the Proline tires on because it had that bigger inner diameter wheel. They don't allow that in the Pro Mod because they're trying to keep that more like realistic. So, and I get it, and I'm totally for that rule. So, let's talk about the monster truck racing. It was a hoot. All right. So they had, Bari Musauer was down, the zombie monster truck driver. They had Weston Anderson from Gravedigger, Ryan Anderson, son of a digger. And then they had Daniel Cheech from Raminator there. And they were also competing in the racing. And so that was super fun. But they also had like the King Sling on display, and then they had the Raminator do a car crash. So there was some other cool stuff that was just going on top of things, everything else going on. There was pull sleds next to us, so we brought our little 24 scale, and my buddies ran it. I didn't get to run mine. I forgot my 3S battery, and I was just so busy running around trying to film and do everything. But monster trucks, man, it was a hoot. Everybody was just talking smack and laughing and having a blast, especially that first day during the spec one. Ryan Anderson ended up taking my camera, and just, I don't even know what footage I've got on there, but it seemed like he was running his mouth while he had the camera. We had, and I made a couple, and actually the cool thing was that day, Ray Sanderson, his son, took third place in the LMT spec class, which was super cool. He just kept going and knocking people out. He was like just on rails. Wasn't the fastest truck, but he was clean every run. So that was really awesome to see. The next day, I actually did really good with my Pro Mod truck. And I don't know how many brackets it went through, but I ended up in the race for third, which I lost to Hayden. So I took fourth. But I had some really tight and good races with some of the faster guys there, and that was fun to do. And man, my Freestyle Pro C was just on rails that day. Unfortunately, because it wasn't like my main priority, I hadn't charged my battery, which is what partly put me into that race for fourth. Is that I lipoed out in the race before, but luckily Jeffrey had an extra battery for his. They let me borrow, but his was like juiced, man. That thing was 130C or something, and it had power, and made my truck a little bit more lively than I was used to, because I'm not used to it being able to pop wheelies and stuff, and it was a little bit more than I was used to having, because I usually just full trigger that thing and just it's on rails, and I had to be a little more careful, but I got a little squirrely with it, and yeah, ended up in fourth, which I still am very happy with for how little I've raced monster trucks recently. But the thing that I left saying was, man, I need to do this more, because I had an absolute blast getting out there and putting them on the track again and running them. But it was well run. They kept it moving. So hats off to all those guys over there. The freestyle was a lot of fun. King of RC showed up to run freestyle. It was able to pull off a moonwalk. But overall, we were having some gremlins with that LMT, and I'd let my buddy Dana run it in the open class, and he had it. He bound to it, and the motor was just you'd pull and it wouldn't go, and then eventually it would go, but it'd go full power because you're sitting there pulling trying to get it to go, and then it would slam on. And so I was battling that gremlin with the freestyle. So like when I was in the moonwalk, I was just trying to tap out of it, and then it just boom, like full powered and ended up on my lid instead of having a clean moonwalk. But anyway, still had a blast. That's all we were there to do, is have a blast, entertain. We chugged a Diet Coke because Greg was like, after my run, I basically walked it up in a slow wheelie up to me and grabbed it by the axle, both fists in the air, car up and the radio up, trying to, get extra points for showmanship. And then Greg was like, does King of RC want to chug a Diet Coke? And he handed it to me, and I just slammed it. So I had a blast. Definitely better runs than mine. But, King of RC has to talk smack and say that everybody's cheating and the judges are blind and somebody's bribing him or something. I don't remember. He was talking some smack there. I heard him. But, yeah, that was cool. Long jump was fun. I've never done long jump before, but 2 days before I finally prepped my Typhon, 2 or 3 days with a spool. And so I was running, I think, a 34-tooth spool with a 27-tooth pinion. And it was quick. Stock electronics from the original Typhon 6. So it's like the BLX motor and that. So I don't know if they've upgraded those yet to Spectrum or whatever, but this is running the older BLX motors that the Armas had. And, man, it put down some power. I didn't ever get to clock it ahead of time how fast it was going, but I was full trigger when it hit the ramp, and it went high. That was part of my problem, is it soared and did flips and went 192 feet, which I was still like super pleased with. Like, that's a big jump for me. The only bummer is where we stand, you don't get to see the full trajectory of it or the height or any of it. You don't see the epicness of it. Because of it's so far away and you're looking down the ramp, so you miss the distance and even the height because you're not seeing it from the side. So, but I was told that it was pretty cool looking, and it looked bigger than it was at 192 feet. But I got beat by Bari, I got beat by Weston, I got beat by Ryan and Greg. All of those guys beat me, and so that was a bummer. Coming in last from the guys that I was basically grudge matching against. But I'll keep my chin up and we'll bring it back. I only broke, what did I break? I pulled the front body mount off the screw. It just screws on to this little, right above all the steering servo stuff. And then I broke a upper hinge pin retainer. So I don't know if I need a whole new bulkhead or what, but it's just that little retainer. So I've just got a little bit of work to do to it to get it back up and running. It's crazy for how big it went, and I didn't even try to care if it landed on its wheels. I just held the trigger. So no shock oil leakages or any of that crazy stuff I saw from other ones limping back with broken A-arms and whatnot. So I felt pretty good. It probably just because I put so much bump stop on the front, it probably broke because of that when it hit. So that was good. The air show stuff was impressive. The big jets are unreal that they've got flying around there. Helicopters. And normally, like, the ones that do all the tricks, the helicopters wow me. But this year was like the scale military-looking helicopters that were just so lifelike looking. Like when I saw videos of them posted, I thought there were real helicopters flying in. So I literally moved from our RV was parked in a line with, so if the monster truck was one end, my RV was the other. Right in the middle of that was the CX24 tent. And I literally just went up and down that. I wasn't ever really able to go right or left. So right would have been the SCX 10 courses, 10 scale. And I played on that a little bit the first night. But that was actually like before it even opened, we were playing on that. So we got in early to set up. But I didn't really get to go left. I never saw the Try Me planes. I never saw the Try Me Bashers. I went in the little Basher park for a minute, but I was just standing in the monster truck side and just testing my truck. So I didn't really get to mess with that. The Figure 8 was next to us, and we got to watch that and film a little, but didn't participate. And I'd brought some of my street cars to try on it, like the Infraction 3S and a converted Infraction 3S that I'd made from the Mega. So we had those ready to go in there, but never got to. But Dust Fest again, especially that first day, the wind was blowing toward us and just covered us, all our stuff. But had one of those nice air blasters, cleaned everything off. The next day it was blowing toward the 8 scale buggy racing. So they were the ones getting torched by it all. But, man, overall, just had an absolute blast hanging out with people. Smack talking with the Andersons is always a good time. They came over and comped with us a lot and ran on the course and stayed and did the comp after hours the first night. And then what else? What else did we do? We did get a hotel room for the last night at the Best Western, which was nice. But we ended up spending most of our evening. We did a comp again, just us guys after hours on Saturday, but then we decided we need to tear down because it was going to rain the next morning and we didn't want to work in the rain. So we tore down until about 2 a.m. and then went back to the hotel late and barely just crashed and got up early and headed out. But, yeah, if we didn't have to, we'd have probably stayed up later playing, then went to the hotel, then came back and spent the afternoon, early morning tearing down and before you got on the road. But it kind of changed things, which is all right. We were all pretty spent by the end of it. It's pretty long days of standing and hanging out. And for me, like I said, I was running everywhere trying to get to things. And then I missed the Ring of Fire totally because I was working on a kid's SCX24, trying to get it hooked up and working again for him. So that's another thing that we did is, there was a couple of them that I worked on for people while we were just sitting there. I said, oh, dude, we can do that real quick, get it fixed, whatever. You don't want anybody having a bad experience or like having something break. And so it's so easy for some of them and I had spare parts up, like I said, like crazy. So got them hooked up and awesome time. So now we're gearing up for Badlands. I got to get a build ready for that. We're going to be working on the SCX-10-3 base camp builder's kit to take there and run. So I got to get working hard on that this week. My brother's in town, so it's all going to kind of run together pretty quick here, and time is going to run out. But I saved the build of it until I can be talking about the build of it. So if I'd have built it ahead of time to do videos, then I couldn't do it while people could watch and I could do live and all that. So I wanted to wait. So we're going to do just kind of a quick unboxing of it that shows it. But then we're going to do a build series of it as we go get ready for Axialfest Badlands. We're going to drag it out a little bit and show it that way. So it should be good. I look forward to it. I did work on the Axial video for them as far as editing goes. They shot it all. So I got to see some of it in the build that they were doing, but also the run footage, and it looks pretty cool. So I'm excited to get it together. That's all I'm going to say. I'm excited to get it together. I'm not excited about painting a body, so I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do for a body for it. That's always, those final ending details for me are the things that really kill me. I'm not a detail guy when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'll sit there and cram through and build something, but when it comes to all the fine tuning that people do with their builds, that's just, I'm not that guy. So I wish I was, because I love looking at the people that spend all that time making them look amazing. But mine just don't. Mine I make functional, and then unless I work with somebody to get a cool body made, it's not usually very cool. So we'll see. I'll throw something together. I think I've got a few options, I think, here. I think I do have a creep body somewhere that I could put together for it. So I wish I could have like an eagle paint job or something done. That'd be pretty sweet. Well, I think that kind of touches on everything. The main takeaway is Axialfest Badlands is going to be a blast. Horizon RC Fest was a blast. This month is shaping up to be amazing. Heading to Monster Jam World Finals at the end of the month, so July 1st is going to be the event, but we head down just before that, so end of the month. We're going to be racing at RC Monster Trucks there at the World Finals in Nashville, and then get to watch some awesome monster truck freestyles and racing and all that. So, wow, what a month. When you say it all out loud like that, it's crazy. Plus, I get to see my brother who's coming into town from Georgia, and then my other brother who lives here locally. So we're all going to be able to get together this weekend. My mom's going to be coming and hanging out. So it's basically a little mini family reunion. It's kind of cool. We're going to try and go out boating. We've got a tube, and they're all excited about tubing, but I think the water's going to be cold, and the air is definitely cold right now. So hopefully it warms up a little bit this weekend to get out for that. I'm going to try and get some other stuff done, guys. I got so many videos I need to get done. I've got the new FureTech system that goes in the Mini B, Mini T setup, the speed motor. I've got to build, I want to build my Angry Sparrow, AX24. Lots of things I want to get done. Time is the hard thing to find right now because everything is so busy, and we're trying to do everything with excellence, except for painting bodies, as I mentioned before. That's just not my thing. There's a reason I'm buying pre-painted from Jeff up at Reaction RC for my CCx24s. Because I usually screw it up when I paint. So that's a real thing. But anyway, guys, I'm super, super stoked about everything going on these days. Lots going on. Lots of products in at CCxRC.com. If you guys are looking for mini stuff, we've got a bunch of stuff from FureTech, and we got some sales that we're running on some of that too. And they're going to be ending here. We're going to run them through Father's Day, and then we're going to end that sale that we've got going on. So, yeah. Thanks, guys, for being so cool. Thanks to everybody that came up to me at Horizon RC Fest. Many of you actually talked about this here podcast, so that's what's wild, is that, you know, the people that talk to me most when I'm at a show or at something are usually podcast people, and so that's crazy to think that this has that kind of reach when it seems like it's the smaller of the things that I do, but it's definitely the most dedicated people. So thank you guys for listening and tuning in. Also, I just got to say it. I thought it would never end, but I think the USCE video is almost done. I've sent it away. It's done. It's packaged, and it's now like what final changes they want to see done to it. But on the whole, I figured out most of the puzzle, got it all put together. It's 30-minute long, like 29:59. I can stretch it an extra second at the ending, be a straight up 30-minute piece, which I actually thought I did, and Vimeo's calling it 29:59. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the storyline that it was able to weave out of all these different interviews. And so I hope you guys, when that goes live, will check it out. And yeah, let me know what you think. Not necessarily in their comments. You don't have to go talking about it there. You know, just talk about the event there. But let me know through Messenger, whatever, what you think. Or on my post about it, maybe on Facebook. So, yeah. Just don't go blowing up their video post with your comments on it. But I would be definitely curious what you think about that kind of format, and if you'd like to see more like that, even though it's a big time suck for me to go through that much. I mean, the amount of footage that we captured was insane. Plus having footage from the guy that shot the previous year, it was an insane amount to go through. So tried our best to pull something out that thought would be pretty epic for you guys to watch. So anyway, cue the outro music because it's Italian to keep talking. We need to go though, because like I said before, I got a lot to get to, and I got to get some stuff uploaded and finalized. Catch you guys later.